Hello everybody and welcome back for another instalment of Teach Me in 10, the video series that is brought to you by LabTube, part of the Technology Networks group. Here we ask scientists to talk to us about a research area or a scientific concept in less than 10 minutes. And our guest for today is Professor Sarah Bridle from the University of Manchester. Professor Bridle has recently published a book which is called Food and Climate Change Without the Hot Air. In this instalment of Teach Me in 10, she's going to talk to us about the impact that the food we eat has on climate change. And particularly, she'll discuss how our Christmas dinner impacts the climate.
Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm going to talk about how different foods contribute to climate change. But first of all, I just want to enthuse about this fantastic representation of global warming. And you can see here that this is the average temperature each year since 1850, represented by a different colour. And so you can see that it's looking blue on the left-hand side, but then on the right-hand side, then you can see that it's getting warmer. And this is due to greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, which are trapping heat, and that's expected to cause global warming, but also changes in our climate. What's causing these greenhouse gases? Well, about a quarter of all climate change is due to the food that we eat. So that includes growing the food, fertiliser, animals, and clearing land for agriculture, as well as processing, transport and packaging, getting that food to us. If we were to stop burning fossil fuels, this green part of the diagram mostly, then most of the climate change that we have will be caused by food. And as we look into the future, then there's more people eating more greenhouse gas emitting foods. This red part of the pie is getting bigger as well. So over the next 10 years, food is going to be an increasingly important part of the climate change discussion. You can see here, if you want to do your own research, much more detail than in that diagram. You can see there food on the left-hand side there causing about a quarter of all the climate change. So no prizes for guessing, but how different do you think it is if you have, say, an 8-ounce steak with chips or fries versus jacket potato microwaved with beans? How different do you think those two things are for climate change? Well, it turns out it depends a bit where the beef comes from, but on average, it would cause more than 20 times more climate impact to have that large steak and chips compared to the potato and beans. What about this example here? So suppose you had a few different breakfast options, maybe a bowl of cereal, a large latte, coffee, or 2 boiled eggs. Which do you think would cause the most climate change? And maybe pause it and have a think about it. And the answer is that it depends really on the amount of milk that you have. Milk comes from cows. About 5% of the calories eaten by a cow are burped out as methane, which is a powerful greenhouse gas, which contributes to the climate change impact of producing milk. And you can see, even if we look at things like heating the milk, cardboard cup for the coffee, it's still really the amount of milk which is the most important thing for climate change. What about choosing between, say, a chicken sandwich, a cheese sandwich, or a peanut butter and jam or jelly sandwich? Which do you think would cause the most climate change? Pause now and have a think about it if you like. Okay, so the answer is that turns out the cheese sandwich actually causes a bit more climate change than the chicken sandwich. A lot of people are quite surprised by that result. But even if we include transporting peanuts from a different part of the world, then that still contributes less climate change typically. And finally, on the same scale as all the previous plots, I'm going to show you the results for comparing spaghetti bolognese, chicken curry and rice, or fish and chips. Which do you think causes the most climate impact, and what's the second and third, do you think? Pause the video now if you want to have a think about that. And here's the answer. Well, the most important thing is that dinner is typically going to cause more climate change than the other meals of your day. And so that's maybe the first one to start thinking about. And you can see that spaghetti bolognese, a large fraction of the emissions are coming from producing the beef. But if you were to switch to something like chicken, then that would reduce emissions of that part by more than 5 times on average. Finally, how about Christmas dinner? We're going to have a think about Christmas dinner, maybe with some turkey, some stuffing, maybe sprouts, potatoes, and lovely pigs in blankets, your sausage with your bacon around it. How much greenhouse gas emissions do you think that would cause? I've zoomed out a little bit here for this because this is bigger than all the other, some of the other numbers that I showed you. And you can see there the turkey, the pigs in blankets, and the pork stuffing are really causing the majority of the emissions there. But what if we were to switch to, say, having beef instead of turkey? How would that compare? And you can see the result here is more than twice as large. Alternatively, if you were to switch to some of the vegetarian options, then you could get the number right down a factor of 3 lower than the traditional Christmas dinner, or you could mix and match and choose which of those things you want to do, knowing this information. If you want to learn more, then there's more information here about the greenhouse gas emissions for different protein sources, some of those that I've just talked about there. And you can go and play with some of the materials, the free materials we've developed if you want to teach yourself some more information on our website, Take a Bite Out of Climate Change. You can download these flashcards for free. It's a PDF, and you can have a play with, trying it. You could play a sort of top trumps type game with this. There's 72 cards in total, and you can compare the greenhouse gas emissions with the equivalent amount of time you would drive in a fossil fueled car to cause the same climate impact. So for example here, this 100 grams of steak would cause about the same emissions as driving a fossil fueled car for about 30 minutes. You can also play our Climate Food Challenge game, where you have to quickly rank the different foods in terms of their climate impact. So press on the one with the lowest impact first, then the next lowest, then the next lowest, and it's kind of a bit addictive, I have to confess. You can also go and produce some of the same charts that I showed you just now by going to this website and clicking on calculator, and you can make that chart that I showed you before with a latte coffee, and you can click on the plus box there, and you can see all those detailed information. You can even create new combinations of ingredients and change the amounts of each ingredient and see, maybe you could work out the greenhouse gas emissions from your day of food. You can also watch some videos where we talk about different aspects of the things I've just described you with all these wonderful people that you can see on the slide. And there's some worksheets, so you could actually work out the effect of transport on greenhouse gas emissions, with this example here looking at some strawberries compared to a banana. And you can see the fantastic results here produced by Fairway Primary School, where you can see that flying some strawberries in out of season causes a significant amount of greenhouse gas emissions, but bringing bananas by boat doesn't add an awful lot to the greenhouse gas emissions. Lots of calculations there that you can do yourself. If you want to know more information, you can go to our website and sign up for free for getting updates. And we'd love to hear your ideas about how we can help share this information about greenhouse gas emissions and food. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Professor Bridle for such an interesting instalment of Teach Me in 10. I don't know about you, but I will most definitely be thinking more about how the food I eat impacts the climate, especially my Christmas dinner this year. So thank you, Professor Bridle. If you'd like to learn more about Professor Bridle's research, we will include the relevant links and publications in the video description below for you to check out. And we will be back next week for another instalment of Teach Me in 10, so keep your eyes peeled. Take care.